Hello, Libra, and welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. What if I told you, something beautiful is already on its way to you? No, really. Not in some distant future. Not in a vague, one day it'll happen kind of way. I mean right now, between May 3rd and 5th, the universe is preparing to place a profound surprise directly on your path. And if you're here, it means you've already started to feel it. Maybe it's been a quiet tug in your chest. A sense that something is shifting, but you can't name it yet. Maybe you've caught yourself glancing at the clock at 1:11, or 7:17. Maybe a song played at the exact moment you were about to give up, and it felt like someone, somewhere, knew exactly what you needed to hear. Libra, that's not random. That's divine orchestration. That's the universe speaking your language. You see, this isn't just a horoscope reading. This is a moment of alignment, a sacred pause between the chaos of yesterday and the birth of something breathtaking. You didn't find this video by accident. You were called to it. Over the next few minutes, we're going to explore something that may change the way you see yourself, and the way you've been walking through the world. We'll talk about the energetic doorway that's opening now. The emotional release that's finally becoming possible. The financial breakthrough you've been waiting on. The love that may be closer than you think. And the quiet, steady strength inside you, waiting to rise. But before we begin, I want you to take one small step with me. Go to the comments and type the angel number that's been showing up for you lately, or simply write, "I'm ready to receive what's already mine." You'd be amazed how one small act of intention can anchor a wave of transformation. And if you haven't seen any numbers yet, that's okay. The one you choose today might be the sign you've been asking for. Now let me take a moment to say this with all sincerity. Thank you, truly, for being here. For liking. For commenting. For subscribing. Every small gesture you make feeds this sacred space we're creating together here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your support is what allows these messages to keep flowing. And trust me, beloved Libra, you'll want to stay with me through the very end of today's video. Because what the universe is revealing right now, it's not just uplifting. It's divinely timed, incredibly personal, and may just be the confirmation your soul has been waiting for. Let's begin. Sometimes, growth doesn't feel like victory. It feels like silence, like solitude, like not being seen in the way you wish to be. For Libra, a sign that so often carries the unspoken burden of keeping the peace, harmony can sometimes come at the cost of inner truth. But what if the peace you've been trying to protect outside of you was never meant to come before the peace within you? Over the past few weeks, or perhaps even months, you may have felt like you've been walking through fog. Friendships shifting. Relationships stretching thin. A career or routine that once felt familiar now feeling oddly foreign. That's not failure. That's evolution. There's a quiet transformation unfolding beneath the surface, and it's not asking for permission to bloom, it's simply waiting for you to recognize that it's already happening. The energy of the World card showing up in your space right now is no small signal. It doesn't arrive to say, you might be ready. It arrives when you already are. A cycle is completing. Something you once tried so hard to fix or hold on to is gently dissolving, not to punish you, but to make space for something aligned, something truer. It's like a sunset, you don't panic when it gets dark. You trust that it's part of the rhythm. You let it fall away because dawn is always on the other side. And yet, even in that knowing, there's discomfort. There's this deep urge to make it all make sense. To tie everything together with a neat ribbon. But not everything is meant to be tied. Some things are meant to unravel so that you can weave a new fabric, one that feels more like home to your soul, not just acceptable to others. Here's the beautiful truth. You don't need to fix what fell apart to prove your worth. You don't need to revisit every hurt or rewrite every misunderstanding. Sometimes, the most sacred act is to close the door gently, breathe deeply, and walk away with grace. That kind of quiet strength isn't loud, but it moves mountains within. You are being invited now to step into a new expression of your power, not the kind that demands attention or applause, but the kind that doesn't need it. It's the strength of knowing who you are, even when the world hasn't caught up yet. The strength of choosing peace over people-pleasing. The strength of saying, I release what no longer feels like truth. And if a part of you feels guilty for choosing yourself, for no longer dimming your light for someone else's comfort, let me remind you, even the softest heart was never meant to be stepped on. There is a difference between being kind and being invisible. Between being understanding and being overlooked. You were not created to disappear behind everyone else's spotlight. As you move through the days ahead, give yourself permission to let go of who you thought you had to be. Stop negotiating your light. You're not here to be balanced for everyone. You're here to be whole for yourself. That wholeness will naturally restore balance to the world around you, not the other way around. And perhaps, as the old falls away and the new gently steps in, you'll realize, you were never being broken, you were being rebuilt. Not into someone different, but into someone real. So breathe into this space. Breathe into the moment. Something beautiful is finding its way to you, but only once you stop chasing closure and start choosing peace. And as one gentle reminder passed down for generations says, when you know your worth, you no longer bargain with your spirit. You rise, you receive, and you remember who you were all along. Not every transformation begins with a big event. Sometimes, it starts quietly, like the way your body gently asks for more rest, or how your emotions begin to whisper that something feels off. After everything you've recently let go of, Libra, your energy field is tender. And in this space of raw honesty, you are being invited to finally turn inward, not in retreat, but in restoration. True healing doesn't come from doing more, achieving more, or trying harder to meet everyone's expectations. It comes from choosing yourself without guilt. It comes from letting go of the invisible contracts you've made with others to always be the one who bends, who softens, who smooths out every ripple in the room. For too long, you've equated peace with silence. But real peace, the kind that lasts, begins when you honor your own needs as sacred, not optional. The energy of the Queen of Pentacles resonates deeply with this moment. She's not just a symbol of grounded feminine energy, she represents stability rooted in self-respect. She nurtures not to earn love, but because she knows love begins within. Her calm strength reminds you that your body is not a machine. It is a living vessel of intuition, wisdom, and divine rhythm. If your body asks for rest, give it. If your spirit calls for solitude, honor it. This isn't weakness. It's wisdom. In astrology, your ruling planet Venus rules not just beauty and love, but values, including how you value yourself. And now, the cosmic alignment is asking you, how well are you practicing what you preach when it comes to self-love? You've offered grace to so many others. Can you extend that same grace to yourself, without rushing to fix what doesn't need fixing? You don't have to prove your worth through productivity. Rest is not laziness. It is preparation. It is alignment. Even scripture reminds us that rest is holy, that even in creation, there was a rhythm: work, then pause. Action, then reflection. It's a divine design that even the stars follow. And you, Libra, are no exception. If you're feeling scattered, unmotivated, or emotionally drained, consider this. Maybe it's not a lack of discipline. Maybe it's your soul asking to slow down and recalibrate. Take time to move your body, not to punish it, but to reconnect with it. A gentle walk, a few mindful stretches, or even dancing alone to your favorite song can unlock flow. Hydrate, not just for health, but as a sacred act of choosing vitality. Nourish yourself with foods that energize, not deplete. Light a candle, not for ritual, but for ambience. Make your space feel like a reflection of how you wish to feel inside. And then, create margin. Margin for silence. For journaling, if that calls to you. For simply noticing your own breath without judgment. When you slow down, clarity often arrives not in thunder, but in whispers. What's truly important rises to the surface, and suddenly, the things that felt so urgent lose their weight. You don't owe everyone access to your energy. In fact, the more you protect your energy, the more fully you can show up in the spaces that truly matter. And those who love you, truly love you, will understand that. There's a quiet kind of strength in tending to yourself. It's not dramatic, but it's powerful. And when you show the universe that you trust yourself enough to pause, it often responds by filling in the gaps you thought you had to fill alone. So as you step forward through these next few days, let your care for yourself be the statement: I believe I am worthy of time, of space, of softness. Because when you care for yourself with intention, you don't just feel better, you remember who you are. And from that remembering, everything else begins to align. There's a quiet momentum building beneath the surface, and if you've been paying close attention, Libra, you've likely felt its stirrings. It's that gentle nudge reminding you that something is ready to shift, not because you're forcing it, but because you've finally cultivated the right space for it to grow. For months, perhaps even years, you've been sowing seeds, ideas you scribbled in notebooks, projects you started and paused, values you've refined through trial and tenderness. And now, during these next few days, you may begin to see the first real signs of harvest. The presence of the Ace of Wands and Seven of Pentacles in your energetic space is not just encouraging, it's affirming. These cards speak to both inspiration and patience. One, a spark of bold vision, and the other, the steady progress you've made even when you weren't sure it was working. Together, they whisper, what you've planted with intention is preparing to bloom. But it's not about sudden luck. It's about divine timing meeting conscious effort. Financially, this may show up in ways both subtle and surprising. A conversation that leads to collaboration. A new path in your current job that suddenly feels exciting. A side idea you once brushed off that now refuses to leave your mind. Pay attention. Not every opportunity will scream for your attention. Some will arrive like a whisper. Trust yourself to recognize them. And more importantly, trust yourself to respond. Venus, your ruling planet, governs not only love and beauty but also self-worth and material values. When Venus is activated in your chart, you're being reminded to align your external wealth with your internal value system. You're not meant to chase income blindly, you're meant to receive it through channels that honor who you are and what you're here to create. Money, in this context, becomes more than numbers. It becomes an expression of integrity, of impact, of alignment. You may find yourself being asked now, what does prosperity actually mean to you? Is it safety? Is it freedom? Is it having the time and space to pursue joy without guilt? Whatever your answer, let it guide how you engage with this season of opportunity. When your intentions are clear, the way forward often clears itself. In practical terms, don't be afraid to revisit old ideas with fresh eyes. The inspiration that returns again and again is returning for a reason. Maybe it wasn't the right time before, but now? With everything you've released, everything you've learned, and everything you're becoming, it might be perfect. Give yourself permission to move with both courage and care. Create a simple budget if you've been avoiding it. Reach out to someone you've wanted to collaborate with. Update your resume, write your pitch, or just take the first step towards something new. These aren't just tasks. They're acts of faith. They say to the universe, I believe I am capable. I believe I am ready. Even the teachings passed down for generations tell us this truth in quiet ways, that we are not meant to wait passively for life to deliver its gifts. We are meant to prepare, to show up, and to steward those gifts well. So when something good knocks, open the door not with doubt, but with readiness. Let pink remind you to remain soft and open, especially to your own potential. Let beige ground you, root you in the steady belief that slow growth is still growth. And if you've been seeing the numbers 1, 5, 17, 33, or 10, consider this your sign. Something is aligning, and it has your name written all over it. Take the call. Accept the blessing. Don't underestimate what's waiting on the other side of your willingness to try. Love doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes, it's a quiet unfolding. A glance that lingers longer than usual. A softening in a conversation. A shift in energy that you can't quite name, but you feel it, deep in your body. And right now, Libra, you're entering a moment when love is being rewritten for you, not through declarations or grand gestures, but through the kind of honesty that doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. There's something deeply courageous about allowing someone to truly see you. Not the version of you you've carefully curated, but the raw, sometimes messy, fully human version, the one that's been through heartbreak, the one still learning, still healing, still becoming. If you're already in a relationship, this may be the moment when the emotional walls begin to soften. Not because everything has been perfect, but because there's finally space for truth. And in that space, intimacy can flourish, not performative closeness, but the kind where you feel safe to speak the hard things and be met with understanding, not judgment. The cosmic rhythm you're currently aligned with supports this depth. Astrologically, Venus, the planet that rules your sign, has been gently shifting, encouraging a more grounded, sincere form of connection. This isn't about falling in love with potential or with the fantasy of how things could be. It's about showing up for what is, and choosing it anyway. Choosing it because it's real, not because it's flawless. If you're single, this energy is still speaking to you. You may find someone entering your field, someone whose presence is intriguing. But the Two of Pentacles appearing now is a reminder to discern carefully. Be mindful of situations that feel like they demand too much too soon, or where your intuition raises quiet questions that your heart wants to ignore. Real connection doesn't rush. It respects your boundaries. It invites your authenticity, not your performance. And here's a gentle truth that's often forgotten in the pursuit of love. The most meaningful relationships are not the ones that complete you. They're the ones that reflect your wholeness back to you. They don't ask you to shrink, to prove, or to hide. They meet you where you are and offer a hand, not a cage. This is a time for emotional clarity, not emotional noise. What's rising now is not about settling for someone who only loves the version of you that smiles all the time. It's about learning to receive love even when you're unsure, even when you're in process. Because that's when love becomes healing. That's when love becomes safe. From a place of wisdom passed down through generations, we are often reminded that the right relationships are not built on conditions, but on covenant, on mutual care, respect, and the willingness to grow together. That doesn't mean you won't have disagreements or discomfort. It means you can disagree without disconnecting. You can be challenged without being diminished. So allow this time to bring a renewal, not by forcing anything to happen, but by creating a space where truth can breathe. Speak with kindness. Listen with presence. And most of all, be honest with yourself about what you want, what you deserve, and what you're no longer available for. Love, in its highest form, is not a transaction. It's a sanctuary. Let this chapter in your life be defined not by how love looks, but by how it feels. And let it feel like freedom, not fear. Let it feel like home. Somewhere along the way, you may have been taught, subtly or directly, that being lovable means being small. That being accepted means being agreeable. That to keep the peace, you must compromise yourself. But Libra, that version of life doesn't fit you anymore, and the universe knows it. That's why the energy around you now is gently, but clearly, asking you to rise. The appearance of the Emperor in your field is not about control or domination. It's about self-definition. It's about structure, strength, and inner leadership. You've spent a great deal of your time making space for others, navigating tension, smoothing out discomfort, prioritizing external harmony over internal clarity. But you're not here just to balance what exists. You're here to create what feels right. That's a much deeper calling. And it requires you to own your voice, your vision, and your values without apology. This moment is asking you to pause and ask yourself some honest questions. What do I want to pursue this month, not because it's expected of me, but because it ignites something real inside me? Who, in my current life, genuinely supports my expansion? And what patterns, relationships, or old versions of myself am I still holding on to just to feel safe? The truth is, safety built on self-abandonment is not safety at all. It's just survival. And you weren't born to survive, you were born to thrive. Now is the time to shift your inner stance. Not with aggression, but with gentle authority. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth. You only need to believe it, and act accordingly. There's a kind of sacred boundary you're being invited to set, not a wall to keep the world out, but a foundation that allows you to stand tall within it. This boundary isn't punishment, it's protection. It ensures that only what honors your truth is allowed to stay. There's an old truth passed down in quiet, spiritual wisdom. When you stop shrinking to fit the world, the right people and opportunities adjust to meet your full height. That means you don't have to chase. You don't have to explain. You simply have to align with who you really are and let that alignment do the work. If it feels unfamiliar to make decisions based on your needs first, give yourself grace. You've been conditioned to keep the scales balanced for others. But balance isn't the same as sacrifice. Real harmony includes you in the equation. And the more you make peace with your own power, the more naturally your outer world will shift to reflect that peace. So here's a gentle exercise that could be a turning point. Between now and May 5th, write down one personal vow you want to carry into the next chapter. Not a goal. A vow. A soul promise. Something like, I will not hide my light to make others more comfortable, or I will stay loyal to the dream even when no one else understands it. Let this be your anchor. Let it be your daily North Star. And above all, remember, you don't need permission to take up space. You don't need to be smaller to be loved. The people meant for you will never require you to quiet your truth. They will celebrate it. But it starts with you. When you stand firm in your own energy, you give others the freedom to rise beside you, or step aside. Either way, you move forward lighter, clearer, and more fully yourself than ever before. You've spent so much of your life trying to keep the peace, Libra, trying to say the right things at the right time, softening your edges so others would feel safe, making room for everyone else's storms while quietly silencing your own. But these next few days are not asking you to keep adjusting. They're asking you to return. To come home to the truth of who you are, not a quiet scale trying to keep balance, but a brilliant light learning how to shine without fear. Because the truth is, you were never meant to be neutral. You were meant to be honest. To speak with clarity. To move with grace. And to live a life that reflects not what the world expects of you, but what your soul quietly knows you came here to create. This beautiful surprise that the universe is preparing for you, it isn't random. It isn't luck. It's the natural harvest of all the moments you chose patience when it was hard, kindness when it wasn't returned, and integrity when no one was watching. This blessing isn't being given to you. It's blooming from you. But to fully receive it, you must do something most people find difficult. You must stop hiding behind who you think you need to be. You must let go of being the emotional anchor for everyone else, and start becoming the steady ground for yourself. So I invite you now to do something small, but powerful. Go to the comments and write the angel number that keeps finding its way to you. Is it 111? 222? 717? Maybe a number you've seen on license plates, clocks, receipts, almost too often to be coincidence. Or, if no number comes to mind, simply type this affirmation: I choose to live honestly, and I am ready to receive something beautiful. That simple act sets a ripple into motion. It turns intention into energy. And it lets both the algorithm and the universe know, you are here, you are awake, and you are ready. And if this message touched something real inside you, something you maybe hadn't put into words yet, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, and hit the bell so you never miss another whisper from the stars. You never know when a single message could change everything. And when that message comes, I want you to be the first to hear it. Libra, this is not about becoming someone new. This is about remembering someone eternal, the version of you that always existed, long before you learned how to shrink. That version is still here. Still glowing. Still waiting for you to trust her again. So what would it look like for you to stop bending for love, and start standing in it? What would it feel like to say yes to a version of your life that doesn't drain you, but fills you? What promise can you make to yourself this weekend that would change the tone of your entire month? Write it. Say it. Live it. Because here's the final truth I'll leave you with. You are not waiting for a miracle, you are the miracle. And the moment you start living like it, the world around you will begin to mirror it back. Thank you for sharing this space with me. Thank you for showing up, for yourself, for your healing, and for the next version of your life that's already unfolding. I'll meet you again soon. But until then, stay soft, stay strong. And never forget, your light was never too much. It was always just waiting for the right moment to rise.